Hi there, I'm Dr. Janelle Sinclair, and I just really wanted to take this opportunity to say welcome. And on this YouTube channel we discuss natural treatments for anxiety and depression. In this video I thought that maybe it'd be nice for you to get to know me just a little bit. I thought I'd just share a little bit about myself and my training, and then go on to share 3 short stories about little times in my life that have, and things in my life that have really impacted me and really brought me to where I am today. As I said, I'm Janelle. I'm 42 years old and I've been married for 11 years. I have 2 beautiful children, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, a boy and a girl. I love to do CrossFit to stay fit. I'm a bit of a nerd really, if you hadn't figured that out. I love to learn. It's just that I have this innate need in me to learn and to grow. And the more that I learn, the more I realise that there's so much more to learn. I'm a follower of Jesus, and although this channel focuses in on the biological or the physical side of depression and anxiety, I believe that mental well-being really needs a holistic approach. We need to look at the physical, the psychological, the social and the spiritual. Although I'm quite an introvert, I love people, and I want this knowledge that I've accumulated over all these years to actually impact people's lives, to impact your life, so that you can live your life to the full without suffering and with purpose. So I live in Hamilton, New Zealand, and that's where I'm recording this video from. If you haven't figured that my accent out yet, I'm a New Zealander, Kiwi. And I did my training in Auckland. I did my bachelor's and my master's of science there. And after that I ended up doing my PhD in biochemistry in Basel, Switzerland. And I graduated from there in 2003 with the distinction of summa cum laude. So since that time I've been working in the natural medicine field, and throughout this time I've done training with ACNIM, which is the Australasian College of Nutritional and Environmental Medicine. I've done their primary course and other short training programs on topics of autism and hormones and chronic fatigue. I've done training through the A5M, which is the Australasian Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. I've done neurolinguistic programming and counselling short courses. I've done a genetic certification with Fit Genes, and I've also done a postgraduate certificate in mental health. And during that time I've worked as a technical consultant and research and writer at companies that one made supplements, another made bioidentical hormones, and another one was a integrative pathology lab. So through those jobs and through that exposure I've got a really broad knowledge about not just supplements and nutrients, but also hormones and the ins and outs of different integrative pathology lab tests. More recently I've been working as a registered natural medicine practitioner, specialising in the area of mental well-being. So most of my clients were women with anxiety and depression and fatigue issues as well. So the knowledge that I share with you comes not just from researching and learning, but also with working with clients. But enough about myself, I just want to tell you a little bit about my dad now. So if my dad was born today and grew up as a child today, I think he would have been given the diagnosis of ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. He had problems with behaviour and concentration, and his mother at the end of her wits sometimes would even tie him to the clothesline just so that she knew where he was and that he wouldn't run away. My dad would tell stories about, if he'd been a good boy, and for a change his mum's like, you've been a good boy, let's give you this red ice block as a treat. So the red ice block just made him hit the roof. His behaviour would just change instantly. And it was a few years later that my mother and my father figured out this link. He was actually working at the chocolate factory here in Hamilton, and he was able to eat any lollies or anything that was made in that factory at any time. But they noticed that there was a trend, and by Friday he would end up having lots of migraines and headaches and have to spend the whole weekend in bed. And they started to figure out this link that maybe some of the things he was eating was impacting his mood and behaviour. So, and for him, as he grew older, it also came in headaches and muscle pain and muscle tension as well. So this was before the internet, and over 20 years my mum and dad figured out what foods he reacted to. Salicylates, which is sort of the natural food colouring in vegetables and fruits and spices and things like that. He was also reacted to a lot of food colourings too. So growing up with a father that was really aware of what he ate and how it impacted his well-being really influenced me, because whenever I think, oh, I've got a headache, or oh, my muscles are really tight, I instantly think, oh, what did I eat 20 minutes ago? And I was just brought up with this self-awareness of how food impacted my body and yeah, my mood and my muscles and things like that. What it taught me is that we're all biochemically unique, that, you know, one person's medicine, so vegetables and, you know, certain vegetables and brightly coloured foods, you know, someone's medicine, for him it was his poison. Each of us should be treated as an individual. Just because something helps one person doesn't mean it's going to help someone else. We need to look at biochemical individuality. And just like I learnt from my father's experience, I hope that you'll learn things that will impact future generations for the better. So story number 2 that I wanted to share with you was a time just before I started my PhD and during my PhD. And I was dating a man that had chronic fatigue syndrome. Now his doctors just told him that it was depression and that it was all in his head. And I think because I'm a biochemist and, you know, I'm a bit more on the logical side rather than at that stage I didn't really have much exposure to psychology or anything, but I automatically went, hey, do you think perhaps there could be something out of balance in your body that could be impacting your low energy and low mood? So as a researcher that I am, I delved into the world of natural medicine, and I found this amazing new world that opened up to me. And I discovered that chronic fatigue as well as depression and anxiety don't have just one cause. There's multiple causes, and I think that's a lot of the problem, is that we're looking for one magic cure, one magic pill that's going to you know, cure depression or cure anxiety. But the problem is there's multiple root causes of these conditions. What I discovered is that there's so much to learn, and, you know, it was kind of overwhelming at times. You know, what do we look into? Do we look into hormones? Do we look into food intolerances? Do we look in the gut? You know, what tests do we do? I've got limited financial resources. You know, where do the priorities lie? And so I understand that, and, you know, part of my message here is hoping and helping you do some of the simple, easy things first. And that brings me to the third story that I wanted to share, and I wanted to share about my nephew. So I went on and married someone else, and after I got married, I started to hear that my nephew, who was a teenager by that stage, had a lot of suicidal thoughts, and he had suffered actually from depression from childhood. And the family didn't talk about it a lot, not because they were hiding anything, but because they had, you know, done their best. They were doing their best. They had been looking for options for the last decade, and doing counselling and working with their medical doctor and doing everything that they could for their son. With the knowledge that I had, I was working in the natural medicine industry. I said, hey, should we just check out some biological imbalances that could be impacting his mood? And so, they were open to it. So we did some blood testing, and based on those blood tests, we just gave him a few vitamins and minerals. And I remember the day that his mother rang me, my sister-in-law rang me, and she said, Janelle, how long do these supplements take to work? And I was like, oh, yeah, well, sometimes quickly. It could be as little as 5 days, or it could take 8 weeks, or sometimes it doesn't have the impact that we want. And the reason that she'd rung me is previously her son, she would try to get him to talk about what he was grateful for that day. What are we grateful for? And on his own, he just couldn't see anything good with the world. He couldn't come up with anything. So the day that she rang me was because they were sitting there watching TV, or just sitting on the couch or something, and her son just says, hey Mum, we've got a cool TV, eh? She said, yeah, we do. And then a minute later, hey Mum, we've got a cool car, haven't we? And she was just blown away. Her son had never self-initiated, saying that he was grateful or he could see any good in his world. And so it just blew her away that it was probably within 3 to 5 days that they had been taking those minerals. So I just want to encourage you that there is hope. And I'm hoping that the strategies that I give you will impact your life like it did my nephew. For some people it is that miracle that they've been needing, and from night to day. I've had clients like that. It's not the majority. For others it's a slow improvement over time as they figure out the keys that they need to get well physically. For others, the natural strategies gives them, a better focus or better concentration or better energy, so that then they can work with a counsellor or a psychologist and actually be able to go and do some good work with them, So it's my hope and my prayer that the information that I share on all my YouTube videos would give you practical information of safe and effective strategies that you can trial or you can discuss with a natural medicine practitioner. So if there's any topics that you'd like me to cover in future YouTube videos, or if you've got any questions that you'd like me to answer, please feel free to write them down in the comment section below. You can also follow me on social media, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And if you liked this video, press that like button, share it with a friend, and I'll see you next time.